Thank you for joining us for this Monday edition of Fox 10 Talks. I'm Mark Martinez.
And I'm Ellen McNamara, and we have a great one for you
We
today.
really do.
We do.
You're going to be like, oh, this is so cute. Let's take a shot here of Murphy and Lieutenant Sarah Everett. Thank you for joining us, Sarah and Lieutenant. Can you talk to us about Murphy? So Murphy was one of the dogs that was taken from a situation in Avondale a couple of months ago now.
Correct.
She was one of the almost, 60 dogs?
Almost 70.
Almost 70.
Close to 70 dogs that came from a home in Litchfield Park. She is doing exceptionally well. Yeah. The dogs themselves were quite a bit malnourished, so I don't know if you guys can see her, but she is filling out very, very well. So you could tell that she's very happy in the home that she's in and getting the care that she needs.
And she's like really well behaved too. I'm sure. I mean, you're in the MASH unit, so you are dealing with animals. You see animals kind of at their worst, honestly. But to see them and to see her make such quick progress, I'm sure is very rewarding.
It is. It absolutely is. You know, almost all of the animals that come to us in a state where they have come from neglect or abuse of some form or level. So to see such a great success story and to see her doing so well, this is a great example of the dogs that are leaving our care and going from probably just the worst situations to exceptional homes, which is great.
Tell us about, when a situation like this happens, I always wonder about the logistics of the MASH unit because almost 70 dogs all at once to take in.
It was tough to absorb.
Yeah,
tough to absorb.
Are there volunteers that help out, or how do you make this work?
We do. We actually have a staff of detention officers. We also have working inmates that are regular crews. They get screened to come and work with the dogs so that they get extra training and classes, so they have an idea of how to actually work with them and manage them. And then we also have county volunteers that are also screened, so people that work for the county attorney's office or adult probation, stuff like that will come and help assist us with the care of the dogs as well. The volunteers are more socialization, but really it's my amazing staff that are passionate about the animals and the female working inmates that do the brunt work and really get these animals what they need.
And it's not really something you think about when you think about a sheriff's office, of taking care of animals, but it's a huge part of what the MCSO has really dedicated a lot of time and effort to.
What I've learned is that we are a one-of-a-kind unit, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't think there's another unit across in any sheriff's office that operates the way that we do.
Well, she is so adorable. I mean, gosh. And how are the other ones all doing?
They are doing exceptionally well. They came in various states. So some of them required extra medical care and a little bit more time to recoup from the conditions that they came from. Typically, when you have an underfeeding situation, it takes some time to build up to a normal feeding situation. So even though they might be a little bit thinner, Murphy's a great example. She looks amazing.
She likes the microphone.
Really well.
I don't know if we have video, guys. Do we have the video to run? It's really heartbreaking to see. When we first saw this story, it's like it was just so sad. But seeing Murphy here now and hearing that the other dogs are doing well, it really, thanks to all of the hard work you guys have done, it really is nice to see this update. We've been wanting to find out how they were doing because we saw this one right here in particular.
Yes,
was like,
that one.
Yikes,
And like with this kind of situation, I'm sure there's so many different situations where like with hoarding, sometimes it can be like, it starts out the best case where, they're trying to rescue animals and then it just completely gets out of control. Or this person is breeding them, right? They're trying to make a bunch of money. Yeah. I mean, are there different situations like that, or is it? I don't know what you can kind of speak to. Yeah, in truth, seriously.
My unit, we manage the care of the animals once they've been seized by our animal crimes unit.
Got it.
So our animal crimes unit really would be the experts as far as the case itself, the criminal case itself, and really how it starts and how it might finish. I really just focus on the care of the animals and getting them love and attention and the help
she's like, she found a perfect home. Look at how well behaved she is too. If my dog was in here right now, he'd be like running around here sniffing everything.
Well, I could tell you, it's a tangible sense of relief that is felt when we get these animals. I mean, you truly do feel it. It was a great blessing to be assigned to this unit. They are grateful and they are just they're so loving.
And you
It's
mentioned the
amazing.
feeding situation too, where you don't want to feed them too quickly because they get that refeeding syndrome, and but also just the stress. You saying that you can sense that they're calmed down or they feel at least safe now. The stress of being in an environment like that with all the barking and the chaos and everything like that, when they get into a situation where maybe they're one of a couple of dogs or the only dog, they probably feel like, oh, finally, look at her. I can't believe this. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, that's why they got adopted so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at these things; they're
So what can the public do? Is there anything the public can do to help out with some of these situations? Do you guys take donations and things like that?
Absolutely. And actually, our unit, we rely on donations. We have an Amazon wish list for the MASH unit for special dietary needs foods, stuff like that, toys, bedding, anything. Because also when they come in, depending on the circumstances, they might come with some sort of disease. And so we do have to go through quarantine processes and stuff along those lines, where we might not be able to wash, reuse, or anything. Stuff might have to be destroyed. So anything that we can do individually for them, we rely on the public. And I'm glad you brought that up, because truly we talk about our staff and we talk about the working inmates, but we could not do what we do if it wasn't for Maricopa County. Literally, we couldn't. So
are we picking up on the mic okay? Or should we? Yeah. Okay, great. Just want to make sure, because I wanted to see if we could get the website where people could go to.
So MCSO has a MASH Facebook page.
Okay.
And then also we have a wish list on Amazon for MCSO MASH unit.
Great.
That's very helpful. And we attend events regularly on the weekends throughout the valley where we bring our adoptable animals. They are always looking for a good home. We have all ages. Sometimes they're seniors. Sometimes you guys probably saw the litters of puppies.
Yeah.
We have a lot of litters that are born at MASH. So right now we have 6 adoptable. They'd be perfect for Christmas.
All right.
They're beautiful, beautiful dogs.
Thank you so much for joining us and for bringing Murphy in. We really appreciate that. We've been clamoring for the update, and so we're glad to hear that. Oh my gosh.
Murphy's teeth, they're like perfect.
I can't get enough.
Murphy's teeth are perfect,
She has wonderful owners. She really does.
She's great.
Oh, that is amazing.
All right, Lieutenant Sarah Everett, thank you. And Murphy,
Thank
of
you.
course. Happy to see Murph's got a great home and going to have a very happy Christmas, that's for sure.
No kidding,
Thank you
man.
for having
Murphy.
us.
All right, we appreciate that. All right, we're going to check in now. We're going to check in with Steve Nielsen. He is at the scene of a water rescue that happened in Table Mesa. Steve, can you tell us about this rescue and what's going on out there?
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible situation out here. It is out there, though. So this is Table Mesa. Basically, to get there, if you wanted to, you'd go 17, go off a dirt road for about 5 miles. And as you can imagine, with all the rains, everything we've had over the last little stretch, it's really hard to get out there. We got about 2 miles up the road before we just sort of turned around. We didn't want to get stuck out there, create any other problems. Rescue is already dealing with enough right now to have a news car stuck on the road out there. So we turned around, but we were able to get the drone up, get some interesting shots. So basically what happened yesterday, a lot of 4x4, these off-roaders, they like to go out in these conditions where you can get a little bit stuck, but no one ever anticipates a situation quite like this. So according to MCSO, that first Jeep you just saw there, that red Jeep, it drove into the Agua Fria River there, and it was just a lot more water than maybe they were anticipating. It got submerged. So they said inside was Christopher Couch. He was the driver. And then there was another woman who was a passenger. The passenger was able to get on top of the car, waiting for the MCSO helicopter to come. Fox One, that's what they call that specialized team. They came, they picked her up, and they brought her to shore. The driver, though, before the helicopter got there, was swept out of the vehicle, down the Agua Fria. That feeds the stretch that they're searching, this 2 mile stretch of the river, trying to find this man now who's been missing since 10 a.m. yesterday.
And so we're still obviously looking. And what about the woman that they rescued? How is she doing? Do you know?
A great question. Yeah, so she's okay at this point. She actually refused treatment on scene. We had some incredible video from another off-roader who was there, Ryan Sims. So if you watch our newscast later on, you can see that there. He was on the ground, and he got video of her being dropped on the ground, deputies coming over, offering her blankets and towels. So there's a lot of people there supporting them. And what's incredible in all this, we always talk about community comes together and crises, all of that. You see it in these moments. You really do when you're there. There are dozens and dozens of off-roaders that have showed up there to help out authorities in this search that's ongoing right now. Of course, the flip side of that is authorities are saying, please don't come out here. The conditions are too rough right now. We don't want people. At the same time, I don't think they're turning down the help for the people that are able to make it out there. Again, we drive a pretty sophisticated four-wheel drive vehicle, and we didn't feel comfortable going too far down there. The cars that have made it down there are the ones with just, those just insanely huge tires and ready to go for all weather events.
And Steve, set the scene when they drove into the Agua Fria at first, because obviously it is sunny now and it's beautiful now. When they went in at first, was it raining? Was it cloudy, or was the sun out when they went in?
Rain off and on all throughout that morning there.
Okay.
We did talk to someone who actually had crossed that river just before them, and they said in just about 15 minutes time, it rose several feet. Wow. So whether or not, the conditions were just a little bit harder on that river than they were anticipating, we don't really know exactly what was going obviously through the minds of the people that were inside of that vehicle. What we can say is that police say, or MCSO says, that they did drive into the river, because that's sort of a passing spot right there when the river is significantly calmer, where drivers will go from one side to the other. There's one driver actually who spent the night out there last night because they weren't able to get back to the road out to the 17.
Well, yeah, we know it certainly has been a crazy fall. I mean, we just had a record for the wettest fall in like a century.
Right. Yeah. I saw those numbers. Boy, but it gets dangerous out there. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, Steve, I know that you're going to be having a lot more information on the search and kind of what exactly happened coming up tonight at 4, 5, and 6. And hopefully they have some luck finding that man as well.
So yeah, any updates we get from MCSO on that search, we'll provide them to you that second that we get them.
Okay. All right.
All right, Steve, thanks. And sometimes we see those folks that have a Jeep like that or a bigger vehicle thinking that they're going to be able to get through it because they're higher than an average car. But you get that much water rushing through there, that strength, and even a Jeep or a bigger vehicle, the water's still going to take it. Yeah,
it doesn't really matter. And as Steve was saying, someone, I guess, went right ahead of them. So they thought maybe, hey, they could make it too, and obviously not. Okay, keep it right here. We are going to have more Fox 10 Talks when we come back.
All right, welcome back to Fox 10 Talks here on this Monday. A lot of news has been made between Pete Hegseth and some of the members of Congress who created that video that said basically, as a service member, you can refuse an unlawful or illegal order. Of course, that got the ire of the president and Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. And now he is going back and forth with Mark Kelly.
Right.
Set the stage.
Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. And and actually Mark Kelly is in that video as well with some of these other veterans too. So to talk more about the back and forth, the fighting that's been going on, we have Andy Mack once again from LiveNOW. Thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into, a lot of back and forth like you mentioned. And it's for people that aren't in the military, it's kind of hard to understand about what exactly is a lawful order, what is not. Obviously in the video they say that if you are a member of the military and you get an order that is unlawful, it is your kind of duty to disobey that. You don't have to do that. It doesn't necessarily go to the order, it goes to the Constitution. And obviously you have to the presumption is that every order you get is lawful. So it's kind of a high standard to find it, but obviously some back and forth. The Pentagon is investigating Mark Kelly. He's a retired U.S. Navy pilot, but even though he is retired, he can still kind of be brought back into service to be enlisted to have potentially court-martialed. That is a possibility of this. Mark Kelly on social media has said that really this is potentially just an intimidation tactic from the president, because obviously we've seen some strong words from the president talking about this. So we'll see what comes next with this.
Yeah, and here's the post from Senator Kelly, as you mentioned there, that last part there where he mentioned about kind of an intimidation tactic, and saying that he won't be bullied. And here's the statement from the Department of War and Pete Hegseth, basically, talking about potentially bringing Mark Kelly back into active duty to pursue the possibility of a court-martial.
Correct.
Which I believe is unheard of. Nothing comes to mind, at least.
No, and it's obviously the people that were in the video. Mark Kelly is of note and the one kind of getting singled out, but there were also other members in there that had military backgrounds, had U.S. intelligence backgrounds. So it's interesting that they're focusing solely on Mark Kelly in this instance. Mark Kelly did note of what President Trump said on social media, talking about some of the seditious acts of disobeying order, but that is not as rare as we talk about some of the being back in the military. It is commonly known that if an order is unlawful, that you're there to disobey that. So that's not the most rare of topics, but obviously this is just kind of going back and forth right now.
And were they talking about specifically like on U.S. soil? Is that kind of what the video was about? And just for background for folks that are not.
I think it was just in general.
Yeah. Just in general. Just, hey, in general, whether you're overseas or whether you're on U.S. soil, if you're a member of the Guard and you're told to do something locally in a city that you believe is if it violates the Constitution, you don't need to obey that order.
Yeah, anywhere, I think, and if you disobey the Constitution, I think a lot of people are going to bring up the Nuremberg trials. That is going to be a kind of a buzzword for all of this about if you obey an order and it turns out to be unlawful, that does not shield you from disciplinary action in that way. So that's another component to this.
Well, and I think, if you're Mark Kelly or any of the other members of Congress or and some of them who have intelligence community background, you're on solid ground here if you didn't say anything that was wrong in this video. You said what is the law.
Correct, yeah. And obviously they said earlier today, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that, hey, all the orders that Trump gives are lawful orders. And it's kind of like the innocent until proven guilty point where every order is considered lawful until you kind of believe that it is not lawful. So the presumption is that an order is lawful just the way that a person convicted of indicted on a crime is considered innocent. So maybe that analogy helps you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not going anywhere. Right?
No, it's not.
The fighting is continuing.
It's like A Few Good Men. It's like watching Jag. It's kind of, it feels like that. It's just like all these questions that come to mind when you're watching some of that stuff.
If only it was A Few Good Men. That would
fictional,
be,
exactly.
But unfortunately.
Andy, thank you for joining us and break that down again. We've got more on this coming up today on Fox 10 News as well. So we appreciate that, Andy.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
All right. Busy day. Here at Fox 10 Talks.
Yeah, we do. And we're gonna we got another one coming in. Yep, we got another person coming in here. We got Trenton Hooker coming in. And
hey, Trenton.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth. That's where we are. That's how we're going to start this. Yeah.
Well, that's actually a good kind of segue into what your kind of expertise right now.
Yeah.
And
expertise is a interesting word, I would say.
Can we handle the truth about what's going on in the galaxy far away?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Talk to us about this new show that you've got going on here.
So Brian Webb and I have been trying to do this live streaming thing for a little bit, and we noticed that when we have unconventional news topics, something that's a little different that we wouldn't normally fit into a newscast to present to our Fox 10 audience, notice that people really dug it and really enjoyed it. A lot of different things that normally you wouldn't start off with, like, hey, let's talk about the JFK assassination files that just got released, or our favorite as of late, the 3-Eye Atlas mysterious object that's going on. So we decided to kind of go full steam ahead last few months working on this, and that turned into Unknown. Our newest show just launched. So again, I mean, this is a show that we're exploring the bizarre, the mysterious, and the sometimes unsettling. So just very unconventional news topics. But again, I think what sets us apart a little bit than, say, showing one of these topics in YouTube when you do a regular search is that we don't pretend to be experts, and we don't pretend to try to spit out just some information that, we read really quick on Wikipedia. We let other people talk on these different topics to be our source experts. And we walk through it, kind of a journalistic lens of, hey, what are the things that are being discussed? How did we get here? And asking the questions that I think viewers would kind of want to know in a common sense approach.
Every time you have Avi Loeb on, that's the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, Avi,
whatever he's talking about, this just goes crazy. Like, so many people are interested in the unknown, and he sort of takes a untraditional viewpoint on some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, he's really standing up against the fire, which is interesting. I was introduced to him back in 2016, 2017, when there was the first interstellar object. Oumuamua was the name of it. And he took the approach that, hey, we need to, in the scientific community, when something like this happens that does have anomalous characteristics, we need to not be so quick to identify it as we would traditionally as, that's obviously got to be a comet until proven otherwise. Leaving the door open of, let's have the scientific method lead the way. Let's have the evidence, and whatever is there, let's discuss it. And for that, especially that first interstellar object, he received a little bit of flack, but certainly on this one, because the size of it, and I think now we're up to 13 different characteristics that he says is anomalous behavior that can't be ignored. And so much so that NASA had a press conference this week, last week rather, where they addressed, let's look at the latest images that happened. And he feels like they still haven't answered his key questions. I think we have that soundbite if we want to listen to it.
Yeah, let's take a listen.
Again, a puzzle needs to be explained. I'm not saying that necessarily demonstrate that we're dealing with thrusters that are technological or anything like that. I'm just saying there are aspects of this object that are puzzling. And why not be curious about the puzzles rather than be arrogant about our expertise in recognizing comets, which is, it's the opposite of what the public really wants to hear.
What the public really wants to hear. And he's a professor at Harvard.
Yes, he is. Astrophysicist.
Wow.
Yeah.
And also a theoretical physicist too. So he knows his stuff. And the great part is just how accessible he is with wanting to talk about this. I think when we have the stereotypical idea of, a scientist in the know about something very specific, that they're kind of locked away in their office, and you can't really get through to them. And when you do have a conversation, it's just so over your head. But again, I think we're just in the moment in 2025 where science is at a point to where the public has questions, and meeting that moment with science commentators and science educators where they can bridge that that divide where the public can be informed, but at the same time just be blown away at the discoveries where it's amazing.
Do you remember, I'm sure, of course you remember, a few years ago when the videos came out from pilots, some military pilots, different videos. In fact, Congress had some hearings on this. And I think when you get people who are at that level, who are used to seeing, all kinds of things when they're flying, but nothing super crazy that's going to get their attention, when you hear these pilots going, whoa, what was that? And you see these videos, you do wonder. I mean, what is it?
Yeah.
What's out there?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're skeptical, even if you're someone who just, doesn't want to believe that kind of stuff, you see those videos and you hear from people who are skeptical and they're like, I don't know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was actually a documentary that just came out on Amazon this last weekend called The Age of Disclosure. And they talked to those pilots and also, 30, 40 different government officials about what are these things, these unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAP, which they've replaced the terminology for UFO, because it's not just they're seeing in the air, they're seeing them in the ocean.
Yeah.
They're seeing them in space. It's all different types of areas. But again, it's not dismissed right now as, hey, this is quack stuff. We're not going to talk about it. It's crazy. But I think there's real momentum building where science is taking interest, and then also the government, where our representatives are wanting to know too. So Brian and I actually are going to be speaking with the director of that film not too long. And Avi also testified in one of these subcommittee hearings that you referenced there, and we're hoping to also speak to the members that are leading it as well in the very near future.
And when is the show air?
Yeah, so we're going to have it weekly, and it's going to be on YouTube and then also our Fox Local app as well. And again, we're trying to not just take the one approach the whole episode. We really try to see, okay, have we walked through this topic in a way where people see it and they feel like they're kind of getting that balance. Another person we talked to was Dr. Michio Kaku. Mm-hmm. He's quite a well-renowned theoretical physicist, and he takes the approach that, like, okay, this Narcissus is a comet. This has all the characteristics of the comet. Now, there's a lot smaller door open has it been written that this could be something extraterrestrial.
Wow.
So fascinating.
Yeah. Very. And you guys going to get to the bottom of the Phoenix Lights?
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Yes. So hopefully we will circle on that topic in the very near future.
That was one when I got here. I remember hearing about it before I even lived here.
Right.
And then every year, when I think people have stopped caring about it, but they do not. People still want to know.
Yeah.
There's still the mystery surrounding it. And, it just 30 years now, I believe, and still the interest and the curiosity as to what it was.
I think that's the great thing about this topic. You guys were just talking about politics and what's going on in the big fight that's happening. But I think these issues, at least, where, we can kind of set aside those differences and look up and just be in wonder. I mean, that's where I think the future is.
All right. Trenton, great. Can't wait to see the show.
Yeah.
Brian's always entertaining as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, he is.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a busy show today on this Monday. We want to thank you so much for joining us. It was definitely very interesting. A lot